In this video, I'm going to share with you how I set up a Wolverine Sharpening System with a Rikon 80-805 slow speed grinder. So let's first go to the board, and I'll share with you the major steps I took to install the system. And as always, orient yourself with the instructions and any safety tips the manufacturers have in the instructions. But the first main thing is the height of the grinder to the bench or whatever you're mounting it on. The center of the grinding wheel needs to be 6 1/4 to 6.5 inches from the bench or base, whatever you're mounting it to. You need to take the cover off, and as you'll see, taking the rule, and I'm about 6 1/8. And I'll show you how I fix that. The second thing we need to do is make sure that the grinding wheel is flush with the front of the jig. So a 90-degree angle on the grinding wheel, straight down, the front of the jig should be right there. It was with me, I did it to the front of the bench, so the front of the bench, the grinding wheel, and the jig all were the same. You can see just it's a straight line straight down. The front of the jig where the angle iron goes in, where the square tubing goes in, is right in line with the grinding wheel. Last thing we need to do is the center line of the grinding wheel needs to be in the center of the jig. So the jig has got the square tubing at a diamond shape in both sides of the jig. That diamond shape needs to go straight up to the center of the wheel. So if you can kind of draw a line from where that diamond is in the tip straight up to the center of the wheel, that's in alignment. So what we have to really do is the three things. The wheel itself on the center, where the grinding wheel attaches to the shaft. The center of that shaft, if you take it straight out, needs to be 6 1/4 to 6.5 to the base, whatever the base is. Mine is on a workbench. Yours could be a standalone mount. You'll need to build up the base. I put 3/4, and I was just a little shy with that. The second thing is the grinding wheel right at that 90-degree angle needs to be straight down to where the jig itself mounts. So the triangle itself is a little bit out from the base. It needs to be straight up from the grinding wheel. It was easy for me because I mounted that front edge of the wheel to the edge of the bench. So basically all I had to do was make sure that the jig itself was in the same line as the bench and the grinding wheel. Third thing is, in centering the jig, it needs to be centered on the grinding wheel. So the square tubing, or the diamond shape, needs to be right straight below that wheel. So if you looked at it down, you wouldn't be able to see it. And it needs to be both jigs, or both sides of the jig on both wheels need to be in the center and aligned the same way. So if you look down, the part where the square tubing goes is a diamond shape, and it needs to be right below the grinding wheel. So if we take a look at it from straight on view on the grinding wheel, if you take a line and just drop it straight down, it should go right into the center of that square tubing, or that diamond shape. And that's looking at it straight in. So it needs to be down. And that's really the three major areas in mounting this system up. So started with, there's rubber mounting grommets, I guess you would call it, on the bottom. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to take them off and then mount it, or do you want to leave them on? I didn't really want to mount them to the bench, as I wanted it to be extremely fixed. So I took them off. I took the 3/4 plywood, I took a Forstner bit and drilled a hole all the way through. That way the bottom, it wouldn't bottom out. And then I started mounting and getting the holes ready, seeing where I am, taking the cover off, and that's the shaft where you'll measure it down from the top. I couldn't get a full pencil in, so I had this I made up before, and it's just a pencil on a dowel, kind of fitted on there. I think I epoxied it on there, and it made short work of marking the holes where I wanted to drill them out. Again, the front of those grinding wheels are right where the front of the bench are. And I think it's a 7/16 inch drill bit is what I had. And I drilled both holes, 2 holes go through in mounting. You can see the holes for the mounting bumpers, and then for the grinder itself. I mounted the grinder and then took a measurement, and I was about 6 1/8. I needed to be up just a little bit, so I had some masonite. Nobody calls it masonite anymore. It's a fiber board. I cut it, drilled the holes for it, and then had it mounted and put the grinder on it, set it up, and drilled the holes for the bench just on the masonite, and then mounted it. And then I took on the wheel, I divided it in half. I think it was a 3/4, I'm not real sure, but I marked in the center, and then I made a line on both wheels the same way. I just brought the mark down, and you don't need much of a line, so you don't have to go all the way around. That's about all you need right there to line things up. So the base of the left side of it, where the bench goes, and lined it up with a square, putting it on the base of the bench, and then going straight up and making sure that the angle or the diamond was in line with the line on the grinding wheel. And you'll see in a minute I made a little mark to get it squared. I'll go and get this thing squared up here in a minute. And we'll look at it straight ahead. You can see it's sitting square, and the rule is dropped down below the bench. And we mark where the diamond is and make a mark on the bench. And then we can square it up from there by using the mark where the diamond is. So we mark the base, so when we drill it, it'll be squared. And bring it up. Make sure it's squared by using the T-square. To make sure that that line that's lined up with the middle of the wheel goes all the way through it. And you can see me bumping it up. And then we'll get it screwed down. Get it set. And doing the same thing on the other side. Put a screw in the back first, making sure we're staying in alignment. And then make sure we're squared. Put the square back up. Make sure we're still in line and still on. And then we go ahead and put a screw in the front one. And then we do the same thing with the other side. Make sure we're still in alignment. Make sure we're still squared. And that's kind of how it should look. Right there with it on the bench, it'll be a straight line to the top. And we do the same thing with the other side, the exact same way. And bolt it down, and then it slides right in. And then we're set. There's a little indentation that you might have to line up like that. But after that, you're done. Go ahead and put the attachments and everything on, and you're ready to go, ready to sharpen. So I hope this helps. Again, there's the three major things to do on the alignment. After that, it's all just bolted together. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. Appreciate you watching the video. More to come. And please subscribe, hit the notification button, and please keep in touch.